Well, hi there and welcome back. It's another episode of Anchored, and I'm so happy that we get to spend these few moments together. I want to start by saying hi to Philip and to thank everybody for sending us messages and letting us know where you're watching and what you're doing with this time. It really helps us to feel a little bit more connected to you. And that's what this is all about. It's about being connected together, but it's also being connected together to God. And so let's get anchored. So as I said, I absolutely love getting your messages. And one message that I got this week just asked if we could spend some time together just telling some Bible stories. And I thought, what a wonderful idea. That's what being anchored is all about. And so I was getting ready and I was wondering, what kind of story should I tell? And then I was thinking how much so many of us are missing our friends. And so today I want to tell a Bible story about a man and his friends. And you can find this story to read on your own afterwards in Mark 2. But this story is about one man. I don't know his name. The Bible doesn't say his name. The Bible just tells us a few things about this one man. You see, the Bible tells us that this man spent much of his time probably just sitting, because even though he did have legs, his legs didn't do many of the things that other people's legs did. His legs didn't walk. His legs didn't run, and his legs couldn't hold him up if he were trying to stand on them. And in those days, he didn't have any technology such as a wheelchair to bring him around, and so he would spend his days sitting in places where people had carried him, and they would have to carry him on a mat. And if he didn't have anyone who could carry him, he might have even just spent his time in his bed. Now, I'm really happy that this man had 4 very special friends. Now, the Bible also doesn't tell us very many things about these 4 friends, but from what they did, I could tell that they were special friends, they were good friends, and they cared for their one friend very, very much. These 4 friends, they heard that Jesus was traveling through their town, through Capernaum, and they had heard many, many stories of Jesus. They had heard that Jesus was the one who was making blind people see, deaf people hear, and had even raised some people from the dead. They were excited that Jesus was coming to their town, and so these 4 friends had an idea, and together they made a plan. They got their friend's mat, and they put him on that mat and decided that they would carry him to go see Jesus. They grabbed the corners of his mat, and they carried him to a house where Jesus was teaching from. And when they came to the door of the house, they noticed something. It was so full of people, they could not get in the door. So they had to find a different way. And they thought, well, let's try in the window. But when they got to the window of the house, there was no room for them to fit in. They knew that they had to bring their friend who was on the mat to Jesus. And so as they looked around, they saw that on the side of the house there was a set of stairs. And with these stairs, they could carry their friend who was still on the mat. up the stairs to the top of the house. Now, this is a house shape for us, but the house in that story had a flat roof. And so when they got on top of the house, they decided they would have to find another way in. And they worked together and they created a hole in the roof of the house, a hole where they could look down. They could see Jesus. Jesus was right underneath them. And so they took their friend's mat and they tied a rope to it and they lowered him down, and he came right in front of Jesus. Now Jesus saw this man, and when Jesus looked up, he could see this man's 4 friends. And when he saw this man, he knew that those 4 friends must have cared a lot about him. This man who was in front of him had a lot of needs. And Jesus decided to heal this man. And so he looked at that man and he said, "Your sins are forgiven. Your sins are gone." And that must have confused everyone in that room. They might have even started whispering and talking and looking at each other. And then Jesus said to everybody there, "I know what you're thinking. You are thinking only God has the power to forgive sins. And so I am going to do something else today to show you the kind of power that I have." And with that, he looked at the man who was lying on his mat and he said, "I want you to get up. I want you to stand up and I want you to take your mat and I want you to walk." And as he said that, the man got up. And I don't think he just stood. I think he rejoiced and he danced, because now Jesus had made him able to walk. Those 4 friends knew that their one friend had a need. And when they knew that this need was so big that only Jesus could take care of that need. And when Jesus looked at that one man, he didn't look just at the needs that were on the outside. He looked at the needs that were on the inside. He saw all of those man's needs, and he healed all of them. He healed him from his sins. Just the other day we saw how beautiful it is when Jesus takes those sins away. And this story is such a beautiful story about friends coming alongside and helping friends. And we can still do that today. We can still help our friends meet Jesus. This is a challenge for us. Those friends picked up their friend on the mat and they brought him to Jesus. They didn't just tell him about Jesus, they took action and carried him there. So my question for us as friends are, how can we take some actions? How can we show our friends Jesus? We can tell them about Jesus, but we can also have actions that show them Jesus. We can show them in all kinds of ways. And so I want us to end there with the challenge. How will my friends see Jesus today